What's going on, people? It's your man, the White Bee, back once again. So, listen, man, I'll be honest. On the gambling front, off the rip, we had a 50 piece on Hrgovic, but I bottled it after about 2 or 3 rounds. I took it off. I took it off at about break even because Joe did. Listen, you can see the clip here. Joe's guard here. He'd still got hit. That's because he's slow as molasses in winter. Seriously, but his guard was better than it's ever been. Especially in the early rounds, he got a bit. I'm not sure what happened. He got a bit. I think he was chasing it. He felt desperate in the end, but he's just so slow. When he's desperate, it's like he gets looser. He's a bit looser, and he's so slow. He's so slow. It's a marvel that he's even got this far. To be honest, I can't. I've never seen nothing like it, man. I've never seen someone so slow. Like he'd have Hrgovic on the ropes, and that's normally where a pressure fighter it's time to eat. But he'd be just like, and then Hrgovic would pop him. So it made a lot of the work that Joe was doing on the ropes with Hrgovic. Hrgovic was getting the better of it, unfortunately, which was frustrating to see. When I watch Joe, it's frustrating. You're like, come on, put something snappy in there, but it's all like, and then he get popped. He couldn't seem to. It was frustrating. Like he couldn't get his hands on him almost. It was frustrating. It was frustrating for me to watch. I think Joyce was a bit frustrated himself, to be honest. There was a few times, I think in the last round, Hrgovic went to touch his glove and Joe was just standing there looking to get at it. Undoubtedly, he's got even slower, and some of his footwork in them latter rounds. I think he was getting a little bit tired as well, but he was like kind of off balance and a little stumbly. Listen, man, I'll tell you now. Before we talk about the fight anymore, he needs to be doing fun fights. He's finished at the top level for sure. Yeah, especially when Hrgovic only on 4 weeks. Yeah, the fight was close. It wasn't 92-98, which implies Joe only won 2 rounds. I had it 6-4 Hrgovic. I was hoping for a moody draw. I was hoping they'd rob a draw for Joe, or maybe even rob a win. I wouldn't have been crying over a robbery win here. Joe deserves it, but still, it's fair to say he lost the fight, if we're honest. And the fact Hrgovic came in on 4 weeks' notice, someone who's known not to have great cardio, he probably did enough to win. Yeah, if Joe on a full camp can't get a dude not out of there, but couldn't win definitively against Hrgovic on 4 weeks, it's hard to argue. It's hard to give him this win from what we saw, to be honest. Bottom line. So Joe from now, retirement. He's not. Well, he's already said he's not going to retire, but I think it's got to be semi-retirement. Like, for example, the winner of Allen versus Fisher. That's a fun fight. We know Fraser Clark wants to rebuild. Fraser Clark's fighting Ebenezer Tete. If Joe Joyce steps in there and fights Fraser Clark, those are the type of fights. I think Fraser Clark will be way too quick. He'll be way too quick. But he's another one who's known to get tired. So maybe there's an edge there, but he'll be way too. Fraser Clark is quick. He is quick. And Wardley whacked him with the right hand. Wardley's lightning quick as well. Joe ain't going to whack him like that. So those are the type of fights if he's going to hang around. Well, that's all he's going to be offered anyway. He's not going to get Dillian White now, which again is a shame. He probably deserves. Dillian White stunk the place out against Tete. He probably deserves a Dillian White fight. Joe Joyce losing to Hrgovic in a 60-40 type fight is still 10 times better than Ebenezer Tete. So I don't see why that Dillian White fight can't happen. But it's got to be retirement or them kind of fights now. Don't be getting in there with Italma, Joe. Seriously, man. Don't get in there with Italma. Because Frank Warren's hinted, well, we need to look at his career and whatnot. We know they want to build Italma. I can see Frank Warren do. Why not? Okay, Joe's finished. Just put him in there with Italma. Don't do that, man. Italma's way too quick. He's way too quick, man. Take your head off. And Hrgovic can't punch. Hrgovic can't punch, man. Seriously. He's meant to be a punch. He can't punch. Hrgovic can't punch with Toffee, man. That's the truth here. He did well on 4 weeks, but he can't punch. He'll never be known now as a prolific puncher, Hrgovic. He's a standard power. You can't sit here raving about Hrgovic's power. Bottom line. He hit Joe Joyce enough times and didn't even get a little reaction out of Joe. I don't think that's because Joe's chin's got 10 times better overnight since Zhang 2. Hrgovic can't punch. Anyway, back to the fight. Started off, again, in round 1 I see his guard, Joe was looking good, tight. But what happens is when you have a higher guard, it slows your feet out and it plays with your balance. Yeah, when you're relaxed, your feet can move quicker. We saw that in, I think, 2 fights before this fight. There was two white Donnies. One had braids in. I forgot their names. But you see the guy the guy who got stopped, who was kind of relaxed. He was getting the better of the work for most of the fight. And the pressure fighter, the dude with cane rows who ends up winning, he had to take a few shots to get in there. His feet weren't slow, but Joe, who's already slow, is a bit like a trade-off. If you're already slow as molasses, having your hands higher makes you even slower, makes your feet even slower. And Joe's feet, when you think about Dubois, when he fought Dubois, he's never been the cleanest fighter. He's always been a little bit clumsy, but he did have good footwork. He was getting his jab off, getting out. With the higher guard, it was more stumbly, and he couldn't get as much distance on his travel on his feet. So it's one of them, man, at 40 years old, and he's just so slow. I feel bad for Joe, to tell the truth, man. I do feel bad for him. He just couldn't. He looked a bit like a bad dream, even though he was in the fight, a 60-40 type fight. When he had Hrgovic there, and he's trying to, you know, in a bad dream, he's trying to hit something, and the demon's too fast or whatever. He's like, it's like, man, that's crazy. I've never seen nothing like it. I've never seen someone so slow in my life. I don't understand. It's like it almost doesn't look real, does it? It's like, you know, when someone pulls their punches. And again, he did land a few of them, but not, just too slow. Any top level fighter's going to have the eyes to see them shots. I've never seen nothing like it, ever, in the game. It's like proper, oh, I'm pulling my shot here. That's how it looks. Like you're in sparring and you're not going all out. You're just trying to, ooh. I don't know what to say. One thing for sure, though, he looked better overall. He looked better than the Chisora fight, in my opinion. He wasn't getting caught. He was catching a lot more of the right hands from Hrgovic. And even when he was doing the moody shoulder roll and turning, he looked messy. It wasn't like a Floyd Mayweather performance, but he was doing what needed something. It's better than nothing. He was doing something to deflect Hrgovic's right hands. Some got through, but he was checking some of them. Before, it'd be like every single one. He never blocked nothing. So there are improvements here. I definitely believe if he is to carry on, he should carry on. But that dude, that was in his corner this time, you can see how Joe was implementing things from the Dubois fight. I think what's changed is it's been, 4 years later, and he's just not as sharp as he was 4 years ago with Dubois, to be honest. The jab, there was points, because Joe was so slow to the head, going to Hrgovic's head. Hrgovic got good eyes. He was seeing the shots coming. Joe had massive success with the jab and the backhand to the body. And in my head I was thinking, just tell Joe, man, just keep going to the body, pick points up at this point. Don't bother trying knocking him out. Joe was doing well, stepping in, stabbing his body, and he'd stab the body and then stab the head sometimes. He should have just been spamming that, in my opinion. Stab the body, stab the head, and then put the right hand in the end. That's what I think he should have gone for, because he didn't really, there was a few clubbing shots he caught Hrgovic with. I think Hrgovic, because of the speed difference, he was just seeing them all, so you weren't going to knock him out with them slow shots. The jab was neglected. Hrgovic said after the first fight they had in a WSB, Joe's jab was a problem. He's notorious for that. He jabbed Dubois' head off. He jabbed, what's his name? Parker's head off. In this fight, though, is it the case of Joe was anticipating Hrgovic's right hand coming over the top, so he was less willing to spam the jab? Like I said, the body though, man, the jab to the body was there all day and night. Pop, pop, down low, up high. He was landing with that whenever he threw it, really. It just wasn't... He got caught up in the mix, man, throwing hooks to the body. Do you know what I mean? Throwing them slow ass... But he was throwing right hooks to the body from the back. That's what he was doing. Woo! He's so slow. It's not Canelo doing it. You know when Canelo comes in, he goes pop, pop with a jab, whap. And then whap his right hand in from the back. Or pop, pop, left hook. Joe's like, pop. Whoa. And Hrgovic would just ping him down the middle. Almost every time he went to the body. So, with the hooks and the wide shots. So yeah, listen, man. Joe's come out and said he's not looking at retirement. Which makes sense. Obviously, who wants to get a normal job? I don't think Joe's made enough where he can sit down and do nothing for the rest of his life. It probably makes sense to try and squeeze some little kind of fun fights out here. Well, he's not going to get nothing else anyway. He's not going to get an AJ fight, is he? or a Tyson Fury fight or a Usyk fight. So that's all he can really hope for. Maybe Adelele, but again, I thought Adelele stunk the place out. I put a fiver on that TKV dude. After like 3 rounds, I put a fiver on Jamie TKV at 8-1 on points. Adelele was stinking the place out, and the knockout came from a bit of a cheating situation. The referee had Jamie TKV's arm tied up, and then Adelele whapped him. So Adelele's a stinker, man. Seriously, he's a stinker, a proper stinker. He stunk the place out. That's the truth here. Adelele stunk the place out, and he was getting boxed up. His head was getting boxed off. It was. Yeah, and that dude, that big bulbous Jamie TKV light skinned Donny, he was soft as well, big heavy. Adelele's no good, man. He's a bully. That's the truth. If you're a proper stiff, he'll take you out, but he couldn't do nothing in there. Seriously, he proper stunk the place out. But yeah, maybe that for the British title. Is Joe going to want to go back down to the British title? Even so, though, when you think about Adelele, that Jamie TKV was quick. He had quick feet. He was able to shift in and out pretty quick, and that jab was lightning. Joe, though, I think Adelele might take his head off. He's just too quick. He's too slow, man. He's too slow. Joe's got to spam the jab. That's all he can do now, spam the jab. Which really is reminiscent of the Dubois performance. That Dubois performance, there wasn't really no frills in that fight, if you remember it correctly. It was literally Joe on his P's and Q's spamming the jab. And I think that's what his edge is. I don't think he can throw no other shots, to be honest. I just don't think he can. He's just too slow for them. Especially at this point. He's got to get his jab game down pat. And stab the body, stab the head with it, and maybe a right hand. The straight shots are the quickest. The hooks, man, and the uppercuts, I can't tell you he had any success. There was a few times maybe he kind of clubbed one in, but you wouldn't write home about it. It was a jab to the body and jab to the head that was having, and maybe the right hand to the body was having success. Just way too slow, seriously. And he's going to get slower at 40 and more clumsy. And then one of the commentators made a good point saying, it's shocking the level of amateur boxing. I'm not trying to discredit no one here, but these two dudes, the quality was pretty poor quality. Hrgovic was the better of it, but it makes you wonder, like, fucking hell, man, how these guys win a silver medal? Do you know what I mean? Like, come on, man. Proper messy. It was proper looking messy. They came to fight, but it was messy. It wasn't. You can't sit there and say. I'm trying to think, what elite skill did either of them really show? What would you say elite skills were in there? Hrgovic, bear in mind as well, people, Hrgovic might have looked half alright. That's because Joe was so slow. You put him in there with someone who's the same speed as him, Hrgovic would have sucked. Hrgovic, really, I have to be honest. Yeah, he had 4 weeks, you have to give him credit, but I can only really give Hrgovic credit for the fact Joe was so slow. Like, who can't catch someone who's that slow when they're throwing a punch? And really, the expectation we had of Hrgovic, that's why I cancelled the bet. I thought, this guy's stinking the place out. The expectation we had, now you can argue, well, maybe Joe's doing things in there that doesn't make him as easy to hit as Dubois is, or Dubois was. Possibly true. But Hrgovic really was, it was a close fight as to put on making. It shouldn't really have been close. So you got to question how good is Hrgovic now, to be honest. Bottom line. That's a fair question to ask. He definitely can't punch like they say he can. He's not a Zhang. And I think he's going to... Hrgovic, apparently Dillian White's come out and calling out Hrgovic. That's the best he can hope for right now. You put Hrgovic in there with... Pick anyone you want. I don't see what he's going to do. Because he barely finished his dinner with... He didn't finish his dinner. He went life and death with Joyce. Slow. Just too slow, man. Way too slow. Criminally slow. Yeah? Let's go through some of the... See, look. Joe here's got his guard there. It's the first time I've ever seen Joe's gloves. Seriously, in professional boxing, it's the first time I've ever seen Joe's gloves catching a punch. Fact. Forget about it. Never seen him with his hands up before. So he did make some improvements there. Let's have a look here. There's the right hand going in from Hrgovic. Joe was leaning back and kind of at an awkward angle and trying to... Messy, man. Messy. I've always said with Joe, listen, Canelo showed the blueprint here. Just stuck on your head, man, and walk in. Because you can say, well, IB, if you walk in, you're a bigger target, and he'll hit your guard. He's hitting your chin anyway. You just saw the clip. He's hitting you spark on your chin anyway. So I don't care what no one says. I don't believe being hit on your guard is worse than being clocked spark on your chops. So stick him here and just walk in. Walk in, man. Walk straight in straight lines. That's what you do, man. All this boxing rubbish where Joe's like rolling and dipping, and a lot of them times he'd roll and dip, particularly once Hrgovic got a read of it. Joe's pulling back, doing the moody shoulder roll, and then Joe's legs are all twisted up, slow as molasses, off balance, not looking because you're dipping down and whatnot. It's all going on, and Hrgovic was getting off his second and third phase. He'd throw something, Joe's out of position doing this, and then Hrgovic would come over the top again, and it's all messy and whatnot. Stick him here, man. Stick him here. Stick him right here, and walk into him in straight lines. Yeah, all that other rubbish, it puts you on the back foot. It puts you in a vulnerable position, especially unless your name's Erislandy Lara or Floyd Mayweather, where you've got sublime eyesight and foot speed and IQ, where you can roll and you're not in a vulnerable position. But Joe, with his legs crossed and pulling back, and stick right here, man, and walk in. Get the jab going, pop. Listen, Joe don't have no hooks to follow up though. His hook game's just too slow, man. His hook game's way too slow. I don't know what the answer is, man. He's just way too slow. Bottom line. Way too slow. He needs to become like, I think maybe a Devin Haney type. Just pure jab, spam the jab. Spam the jab is what I'm thinking. I don't see how he's going to hit anyone with them shots, man. And it's like his feet are just half a foot out as well. He's like, ooh. It's fucking hell. It's fascinating to watch. I've never seen nothing like it, seriously. You've got Joe there. Where's the moody shoulder roll? I want to play a bit. That's very annoying. No. There's the moody shoulder roll again. So his legs are all twisted up and he's just vulnerable here. There's no second phase from Hrgovic there. See what I mean? Like Joe's down there and it was at points like that. So look, so Hrgovic is more or less hitting him, and Joe's half a foot out. Seriously, that's what I'm saying. Joe's half a foot out. I've never seen nothing like it. Almost every time Joe threw, he was half a foot out. Just because Hrgovic's feet are a little bit quicker, and he's just so slow. I'm not saying it to be horrible. It's obviously not his fault. It doesn't make sense to me. Or is it a case of these athletes that are in there are sublimely quick and Joe's just an average man? I don't know. I've never seen nothing so slow in my life. Seriously. Yeah. I don't know, people. I feel sorry for Joe. I wanted him to win. But on that performance, again, even if he'd beat Hrgovic, the best he could hope for is Dillian Whyte for the money. It's not going nowhere, that's for sure. In terms of elite boxing, it's not. I just don't. Well, the evidence is there now. Hrgovic on 4 weeks notice, he couldn't get it done. He couldn't nick a win. Chisora, 50-year-old Chisora, couldn't nick a win and got knocked down. He's looking like Dave Allen versus Fisher winner. Don't get in there with Vitalma. We know Wardley's fighting Miller now. Don't do nothing stupid with Vitalma though. Don't do that, man, because that could be X-rated. Seriously, that could be proper X-rated. Not even playing with your ass no more. I'm trying to think who else is knocking around. Huey Fury, if the bag's there. I don't know if the bag's there or not, but them kind of names now. No new up and coming fighters that you can win. Maybe Adelele for a British title. Joe's not going to want a British title though. That would feel like a step down. But it's all going to feel like a step down now. The point is, you've lost to Chisora, you've lost to Hrgovic. It's a step down. Those are like fringe world level dudes. Hrgovic and Chisora are fringe world level. You've lost to both of them. It's a step down now. Back to British level. If you beat Adelele, whatever that's worth, or you beat the winner of Johnny Barsh and Dave Allen. These are fun fights though, man. You might make. Apparently Dave Allen's making like 300-400 grand against Johnny Fisher. So if Joe can get 300-400 grand for fighting the winner of Fisher and Allen, that's not a bad night's work. I'll take that work. It's not whatever. But it makes sense not to retire if you can get them kind of fights, or even if you're fighting Adelele for 200 grand. People, where's Joe gonna make 200 grand in a 3-month time span essentially? Oops. Yeah, that's top 1%. That's top 1% money. So he might as well not retire and just pick up. I mean, even if Joe can get paid 100 grand for some of these fights, that's better than if you can 100 grand for 3 months' work. That's 400 grand a year you're on. Who's making that? Oops. No one making 400 grand a year in a regular schmegular job. So he might as well hang around. So even 50 grand, man, that's 200 bucks a year. Even if you can make 50 grand, so you might as well. That's what I'd do if I was in his position. Just stay on the circuit, milking out all the coins you can. Why not? Why would you not do that? Otherwise, you're going to mop on the floor with a YB somewhere, right? So you might as well. It don't make economic sense to retire at this point, even if he's finished at the top half of the game. That is a fact. I wouldn't want to see him in there with anyone in the top half of the game, to be honest. Even Fraser Clark. The speed, man. I think the speed. He's got quick hands. His gas might run out, but they've been saying that for ages. This is the point I'm making. Joe used to be prolific in the back half. Now, Chisora and Hrgovic had cardio problems on a full camp. Hrgovic with 4 weeks camp. Really, no one can sit here and say Joe got better at the end. I think Hrgovic was getting the better of some of them rounds at the end, which shows you the fall off. No one could hang with Joe Joyce in the back half, ever. In his prime. He was the back half dude. Pause. Yeah? Listen people. Joe was taking a whole bag of man from the back. Yeah? Not the front. He was never a quick starter, but he would take the man from the back. Pause. That's what he was doing. Now he's going... Chisora hits him late in the fight. Life and death with Chisora in the back half. Couldn't put no pace on Gash Ali. Gash Ali was a fake news stoppage. Couldn't put no pace on him with Gash Ali. Couldn't get him out of there properly. Hrgovic, again, 4 weeks notice. Can't put no pace on him. These are the signs of... When you lose your edge... His edge was, I got gas for days. When you lose that, it's a sign of you're over the hill for sure. But yeah, I wish him all the best. I hope he can pick up a few 100, 200 grand, 300, 400 grand fights. He might as well. He's worked hard enough for it, if that makes sense. So yeah, don't retire. But just drop the... Not a town man. Don't do it. Don't listen to Frank. Frank's lying to your date, Joe. Yeah? If Frank Warren pitches you a Talma for 500 grand, well, fuck it, man. I'll probably take it as well. I'll get my head knocked off 500 grand. Well, I'll get in there with a Talma for 500 grand. So maybe you should fight a Talma. If the money... But are they going to pay him 500 grand for a Talma? Maybe not. But that's what you'd need. Don't do it for 100 grand. If that's your last offer, I'll probably take 100 as well. But listen. No, but once you get smoked by a Talma who's got no resume or nothing, that's like your last fight. Yeah? Fight the Dave Allens. Fight the Fraser Clarks. Because Fraser Clark ain't going to knock you out, I wouldn't have thought. He can't punch with toffee. And then a Talma on your last fight, maybe. Get in there as a filler fight for him for a Talma. That's what you should plan for. Anyway, Dillian Whyte, mate, beg Dillian Whyte, man. What's Dillian Whyte doing? No one wants to watch Dillian Whyte and Hrgovic. But the argument is now Hrgovic has a ranking. That's what people want Hrgovic. He had a ranking top 10 in most bodies. But still, no one wants to watch that man. Yeah? This was a 60-40 fight from Joe. The UK fans want to see Joe versus Dillian Whyte. I'll watch that. It was competitive here. And Dillian Whyte, let's watch this UK derby. Don't forget as well, Dillian Whyte promised us that fight. He was signed for that fight. The fact he's flapped it, why Hrgovic getting in the mix now? I like Hrgovic. I respect him for getting in there in 4 weeks' notice here, but I don't want to watch that. I want to see Joe, but seriously. Both will be competitive, though. Dillian Whyte versus Hrgovic is competitive. I don't know who you'd lean with. Well, I'd lean with Hrgovic, obviously. Not by a long margin. If Dillian Whyte comes in form, Hrgovic can't punch. He can't punch. So, if Dillian Whyte's on form, I got Dillian Whyte. If he's not, if he comes in there like Tete, obviously you have to go with Hrgovic. But I'm definitely underwhelmed by Hrgovic. I'm underwhelmed by him. I expected more. Yeah. At no point was I thinking, whoa, he's blowing dudes back out. Anyway, let me know your thoughts. Smash the like button, subscribe, like for the bell, 100%. There's no doubt about this when people stop it.